There's a lot to consider when expanding into new markets, and you probably have to start by understanding yourself, and that will open up, okay, these are the top 3 markets that we should target based on who we are as a company.
Hey guys, this is Sid Patel, CEO of Beverage Network and Cannabis Drinks Expo. We are live here from Vertosa's office in California, San Francisco, and we're going to talk about how you can scale to other states if you are a cannabis beverage brand. I have Mike here with me. He's the COO of Vertosa. Mike, thanks for having us here.
Yeah, welcome.
Super, thank you. Give us a little context about yourself and just Vertosa. What do you guys do?
Well, we are a B2B emulsion provider. Our bread and butter is Cannabis Beverage. We've been at it for about 5 years now. Really grew the category here in California, and have really focused on expanding outside of California into Canada, and then since then really about 17 states now and growing.
I think one of the main bottlenecks that we all have in this is obviously the state regulations and whatnot. So when a brand, especially a beverage brand, wants to expand to other states, what is your best approach? What you would advise them?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's certainly a lot of work. So you got to kind of go through a list and see kind of what is your product profile and how is that going to fit in the state. A competitive analysis is necessary. High dose or low dose. Are you using different cannabinoids and how those are allowed or not allowed into that regulated supply chain? So there's a lot to consider. Really important on top of that is the manufacturing landscape. It's non-existent in some states right now. In other states, more the legacy states, California, Washington, Oregon, there's different options for manufacturers, so it's a little bit easier. On the flip side, there's a lot of competition because there are those options. So it's really, what's your appetite? Do you want to be a pioneer, or do you think you have a product that is unique and will compete with the existing landscape? So there's a lot to consider when expanding into new markets, and you probably have to start by understanding yourself, and that will open up, okay, these are the top 3 markets that we should target based on who we are as a company.
So let's just take an example, right? Like you have your own brand now. You've been selling in California for almost 4 years. New states are opening. Let's take an example of New York or Minnesota or Illinois. Those 3. If you can just go deeper into that.
Yeah.
Now, if you were a California cannabis beverage brand, 4 years in business and medium-sized company, you're selling in some dispensaries. Small to medium company, you don't have budgets like big companies. What would be your business plan? Like, what would be a step-by-step process? As you said first, but if you can just break it down into maybe finding a co-packer is the first thing, or finding someone like you is the first thing. How would that work?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit biased, but I think working with Vertosa is going to help you a lot. We are really heavy on partnerships across all these states naturally. We kind of operate in our thin horizontal. So we rely on all these partners because we're sending out our techs to these spaces. So you had mentioned 3 markets in particular. I'd say 2 of them are very similar in their life cycle right now in New York and Illinois. And what's going on there, there's very limited landscape for manufacturers. So finding that manufacturer would be step 1 for somebody
just
as
to
a
find.
small
Manufacturers are very rare. You mean it's very hard to find a co-packer.
So in the profile that you're explaining,
Understood.
if you're a kind of a low budget, kind of proud of your brand and want to introduce it, you're going to have to rely on the partner network for sure. The flip side of that is if you want to go in, you want to find somebody who has a license, maybe unutilized space, you want to put in your own canning line, install your own process, your own SOPs, your own people, but obviously that's going to be more of a heavy lift. So if you're just a brand, you have a good product that you have faith in, you need to go out and find that partner who's going to understand the local regs, just make things a lot smoother for you as you go into those markets where you don't understand what's going on.
And this partner would take care of the manufacturing?
The manufacturing, but generally they're going to have a lot more knowledge about what's going on in the market from the the entire supply chain from inputs, so who's growing, who's extracting, what is the prices.
So they can take care of the whole supply chain that way because they already have their network.
Exactly.
And then where you come in is the product formulation.
Right.
So that you use their infrastructure and you use your technology sort of to make the product consistent.
Yeah. So we're very nimble, and we have our mobile unit, our mobile techs that can be almost anywhere at any time. So we can provide that consistent ingredient that is obviously the active component of a cannabis beverage. So you can rely on Vertosa to get in basically anywhere. It's really those other in-state components that are licensed by the state that are unique, and working with those partners is gonna be a key to success.
What about warehousing, distribution, sales? How would you set up all those things?
Yeah. Again, that's going to be state by state. If we're looking at Nevada, it's pretty simple. There's one distribution company primarily that does it all, or you can do it yourself if you're a scaled manufacturer.
Meaning that some companies also offer like clearance services where you knock the doors, but I'll deliver for you and go through the licensing. You know how in wine and spirits you sort of have to go through the 3-tier system.
Yeah.
So there are companies who will clear stuff for you, but technically they don't own the inventory.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on the state. So in Nevada, there's basically one distributor that does it for everyone, no matter what product, where it's going.
So you just ask them that, hey, I'm going to start pitching dispensaries. Can you take my product and represent? All right.
Yeah. So in that instance, you'll probably be the one knocking on the dispensary doors, saying, hey, or hiring somebody to do so.
Yeah.
But you'll just call them up and be like, hey, I sold to these 10 stores. Get it there at this time. So it's pretty streamlined there. In other markets, let's say Michigan, it's basically most of the manufacturers are self-distributing.
Okay.
So it's the manufacturer that you're working with that is driving daily,
So it's
weekly.
hard, right? They may not take a different product because they want to sell their product?
Yeah, they have to have faith in your product. They have to understand, that you provide value and a distinct...
in their portfolio, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, it's really important to work with a good manufacturer and target market by market what your strategy is going to be, because it's going to be different in every single market. It's hard to even consider a one-size-all-fits solution, whether you're talking about manufacturing, distribution, legal, even product. Like I said earlier, Massachusetts has a 5 milligram limit. California here, we have a 100 milligram limit on what can be in a single package. So,
what do you think are the 2 to 3 most best opportunities right now for expanding into which states are good right now?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I'm always kind of excited about being the tip of the spear in new markets. So in particular for beverage, Arizona is one that I think is really undertapped.
Oh yeah.
And that's again because there's no real scaled manufacturers and no co-manufacturers to speak of. So I think as soon as that gets turned on, I believe Arizona is about 10 million people. It's a really tight population center between Tucson and Phoenix, so distribution is not too complex. So I'm excited about Arizona. Probably the second half of this year, or even the first half of next year, is going to be a big market. Missouri, which just turned on, is for adult use is blowing up generally, and I understand people can't keep products on the shelf there. So yeah, there's a lot opening up right now. We could talk about Illinois, New York.
Is there a first mover advantage which is very clear in this industry, you think? Like if you were the first one to take a beverage brand in the state, does it offer value, or it's better to wait and see how things play out and then go maybe in year 4 or 3?
Yeah, I think there's a first mover advantage in that products can usually maintain a high margin if you're able to get in early. So definitely there's a first mover advantage in that way. It's hard, I think, as we've seen in California, to kind of maintain a real strong market share, just because of potential lack of brand loyalty in cannabis in general. But yeah, I mean, if you can get in there early, be in a market 6 to 12 months before anyone else with a beverage, you're going to have a long lead before people start coming in and kind of eating into your market share. From there, it gets tougher and tougher, obviously, to maintain. But yeah, there's definitely an advantage to being the first.
You guys work with a lot of beverage brands, right? So you have seen different kind of entrepreneurs. Just would love to know. Both had the same playing field, right? Both were the same person, but why did A person succeed and B person could not succeed? So what were some clear efforts that you saw that A company put and they just had that appetite to succeed?
Yeah, I think right now, as much as I appreciate kind of really intricate, complex products, keeping it simple is important. So simple flavors, simple formulations is really what drives the market.
So you're saying still it's the product which drives, not so much sales and distribution and marketing. It's still the product and the taste.
Well, I guess we could take each component by itself and say what's driving. But
let's say you work with 50 brands, right?
Yeah.
And there is a reason why these 5 brands are performing amazing, and there is a reason why these 5 brands are not cracking it.
Yeah.
So does any reasons come to you in mind?
Yeah.
One of them, which you said, is product.
Yeah. Product is important. Nobody can deny that dollars per milligram is important as well. So
price, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 100 milligram beverages at low price definitely are winning, at least here in the California market. But yeah, like I said earlier, it does come down to relationships as well. Working with the right people, working with the right distributors, the right manufacturers, the people who have the right connections. If you're a brand coming into this space is key. That's what's gonna launch you. And so knowing that you have the partner that you're going to succeed with is important.
What is your role? Like, walk us to your day-to-day role, your weekly sort of targets or monthly. What's your KPI?
Yeah, it's a lot. So, as a CEO, running kind of both the operations and the sales side here at Vertosa, day to day, there's a lot of fire drills. Where, I think anybody in the cannabis industry would say that, but dealing with labs in new markets who have no idea how to test a beverage, and our brand partners are really confused at how do they launch this product. They're out of spec and having to go through and retest with the lab so that things can get released. That's one common thing. Focusing on really scaling up our mobile operation has been a big part of what I do. Like I said, having to be in 17 states is difficult. Most recently, on the same day, we were in 5 different locations. We're a small team, but we had 5 different techs operating in 5 different states on the exact same day. And that was a big accomplishment. So the logistics of shipping our equipment there, flying people out, making sure our partners have the distillate so that when we arrive, we're able to process it for them, timing it with the brand partners so that they're launching at the same time. So it's really all this logistical whirlwind that me and the rest of my team are dealing with. That's the day to day. It's a lot.
Great. Thank you very much, Mike.
Yeah.